In this video, we will discuss the use of constructors in Dart programming language. We will also discuss various types of constructors in Dart, such as the default constructor and the parameterized constructor. We have already covered the use of factory constructor in a different video, so you might want to check that as well. So you might wonder what constructors are actually used for in Dart programming language. A constructor is a special method of a class that is used for initializing the variables of the class. A constructor does not allow specifying custom return types. The return type of the constructor is the class itself. If no constructor is defined by the programmer, then default constructor is the no argument constructor. A constructor is called whenever you try to initialize an object. You might also wonder what is a default constructor in Dart. Program given on our screen demonstrates default constructor in Dart. Even if not defined, every Dart class has a default constructor as shown in the program. Name of the default constructor is same as the name of the class itself. On our screen we have a program that demonstrates default constructor call in Dart programming language. In this program on line 1 we have a class named default constructor example. Inside the default constructor we have a print statement that prints the message default constructor is called. Inside the main function we are creating a new instance of the class default constructor example and assigning it to variable hello. When we run above program, it prints the message default constructor is called. From above program, it is clear that whenever a new instance of the class is created, then the default constructor is called. It is important to note that inside default constructor, we can assign new values to instance variables and perform various other operations. Now there are some rules for defining both default and parameterized constructors. Following are the rules for defining both parameterized and default constructors in Dart programming language. Name of both default and parameterized constructors in Dart is name of the class itself. A default constructor does not have a parameter. A parameterized constructor can have one or more parameters. Constructor body. The body of the constructor is executed whenever a constructor is called during creation of a new object. Constructors do not allow defining custom return types. The return type of the constructor is the class itself. Now I will explain parameterized constructors in Dart programming language. A constructor that accepts parameters is called parameterized constructor. Similar to functions, constructors can also accept parameters. Parameterized constructors allow a programmer to initialize uninitialized variables with a custom value. Given below are some programs that demonstrate the use of parameterized constructors in Dart. The program given on our screen demonstrates the use of parameterized constructor in Dart. On line 3 we have a class named person. The class person has an instance variable name which is a string. On line 7 we have a parameterized constructor which is used for assigning new value to the instance variable name. On line 10 we have the main function. Inside the main function we are creating a new instance of the class person and assigning string abc to the instance variable name. Below that we have a print statement that prints the value of person.name. When we run above program, it produces the output person.name is abc. So from above program it is clear that parameterized constructor is used for assigning new value to the variable name. Instance of a class is created using the new keyword. However, it is important to note that new keyword is optional in new versions of Dart programming language. The new keyword can be omitted while creating a new instance of the class. The Dart programming language will try to infer whether to use new keyword or to use const keyword while creating a new instance of the class. It is also important to note that constructors are not inherited. When you define a class that extends from another class, then parameterized constructor of the parent class is not inherited. Instead, you are asked to define a new constructor. In program given on our screen, on line 3 we have the class name person. Inside the class person we have the instance variable name which is a string. On line 7 we have a parameterized constructor that assigns new value to the instance variable name. On line 10 we have class John that extends from class person because constructors cannot be inherited. On line 11 class John has to define its own constructor. On line 13 we have the main function. Inside the main function, we are creating a new instance of the class John and assigning it to variable person. Below that we have a print statement that prints name of the person by calling person.name. When we run above program, it produces the following output: person.name is John. As shown in above program, class John extends from class person. Therefore, it is mandatory to define a new parameterized constructor in the extended class John because parameterized constructors are not inherited by child classes. We hope that you have found this video useful for understanding default and parameterized constructors in Dart programming language.